Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I am your host, Professor Sides, and I have built some mathematical models named Sideline that predict various sports outcomes. You'll hear more about the baseball model during the course of this episode, set to cover 4 Major League Baseball games scheduled to be played on Monday, June 19th, 2023. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for some explanations and community rules. Remember, if you're interested in projections and picks on every single game, sign up on Dub Club. That link is in the show description. You also get access to our Discord chat, the prices that the model needs for an A-grade moneyline play and runline play, all the totals, all sorts of goodies. Cost under $1 per day. Get that link's in the show description. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion in this show projects a typical game, but does not try to forecast it to a T, as that'd be a foolish and impossible goal. The idea being we are interested in trying to figure out what prices are good picks, not that there's a right side and a wrong side. There's a right side on both sides at the right price. We are very price sensitive around here, always looking for good prices. And that's what I'm going to try to tell you where I think that things are mispriced. And we're going to show how well this works in the long run by profiting, again, over weeks, over months, on any individual day. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen on any individual game. Sometimes we'll get good variance. Sometimes we'll get bad variance. But in the long run, it'll balance out for us. Unfortunately, as much as I'd like to say it'll be profitable each and every day, that's just an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, I was playing with some numbers here. I feel like I'm a terrible marketer. We've talked about this before. Terrible business person. I just do the math and I watch sports, but I thought, if we're talking here on a Sunday night, there's the Sunday night game happening as you're recording. But we kind of know how the week went from Monday to Sunday at this point. It's kind of like the only time we can kind of recap things. And I was looking at it, and this makes five profitable weeks in a row now for all picks. If you're with us over on Dub Club, a total of 38 units in those 5 weeks. So
that's incredible is what that is. That is lining your pocket with all sorts of extra cash.
Yeah, and it's fun to see the bankroll grow like that. One of those weeks we only were up like a unit or something, but the week before that it was almost 13. And so it's one of those where it's like, hey, if we just keep plugging along, and that's what I'm always talking about, always preaching about with being price sensitive. It's all about these probabilities, and we're going to look really smart on a couple picks. We've looked really smart on a couple of these underdog picks that we've had. I think picking the Nats like against the Astros one night or something, or I know it was against your Braves, but picking the A's against the Braves, like to start off kind of their hot streak, right in the A's some of these times.
Yeah.
We look like geniuses on here, but like it's not about the one game that we look smart or the one game we look stupid on. It's about the totality of just slow and steady building your bankroll. I don't know. I feel like I just have to let the numbers speak for themselves,
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. Like, you just point back to all the winnings we've made this year just playing these picks, and it just speaks for itself. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, it's more fun when we win than we lose. But unfortunately, this last week we had a couple days that were kind of rough, but we had enough good days to balance it out. With the Sunday night game pending, I think as of right now, up 4.5 units. So again, another solid ho-hum. Just keep on chugging along week. You can't really ask for much more than that. Yeah, exactly. Jake, anything else I feel like happening that we should talk about from the week that was in baseball?
Nothing really particular stood it out. Like, there was that weird Giants-Dodgers fly ball pop-up thing that happened.
Oh, that might have been the stupidest play I've seen all year. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. It's a pop fly. The third baseman just catches it. It's a normal play, but he doesn't. And then it's like start the circus music. Yeah. Throws it away, and then bad base running and a run. It was everybody in the play on the field except for like the center fielder and the left fielder got involved. We've seen some weird plays. We've seen some weird games. A couple of these extra inning games are starting to go a little deeper. I feel like early on in the season, every extra inning game only went like 10, maybe 11 innings. And we're starting to see like some 12s and 13s even as of late, which is kind of weird. But I guess that's just baseball. You always expect something weird to happen, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some good Monday games. We have a day game on Monday, which is exciting. I have no idea why, but I'm happy for it to talk about. But before we get to Monday's slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free, and if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Away scale picks, A grade, Monday Night Plays will return 4 units, B grades return 3, C will return 2. We have a C pick today that I do like, and we'll talk about why as we get to it. Totals are flat bet, but with the scaling and with the picks, as always, take what you like. I'll leave the rest. Going to start off with that day game again. I have no idea why this is happening. There's no holiday that I know of. This is the first game of a series. It's not the last game, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. I'm just excited that we have it. Cardinals at the Nationals, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a hot one in Washington. Around 90 degrees to start, mid-upper 80s to finish. We're going to start off with the wind blowing out. Pretty strong, almost 10 miles an hour. It'll kind of shift towards blowing across, but the weather impact of this game, according to the model, ups the projected runs by 11%. You also have 2 below average starting pitchers in Jack Flaherty and Josiah Gray. Flaherty is every bit as bad as his 4.64 ERA. Josiah Gray, a guy I've talked a lot about, his results have been there, 3.19 ERA. So you may take offense to me saying this, but the underlying metrics are just painting a picture of he's just not that good. Of course, the Cardinals also as a team, just not that good. And so that's why we've got a pick here on the Nationals. The home underdog at plus 136, A grade pick. Model says it should be 116. But they have a 46% chance of winning. Not quite a coin toss, but good enough value here to be an A grade. Anything plus 128 or better gets an A grade pick. And we're going over 9 as the model projects 10.4 runs. The ball's really going to fly here. Flaherty can give up a lot of runs. I think Gray's going to give up a few to this Cardinals offense, but I think the Nationals have a chance to pull this off. And as we talked about at the top, right, it's all about probabilities. Are the Nationals more likely to win or lose? The answer is they're more likely to lose. But at this price, they win enough of the time that this makes a really good investment. They win about 9 out of 20 times. And if you make this bet 20 times and you win 9 of them, plus 136 is going to give you a good long-term payoff. So we got the Nats, we got the over 9. Jake, which one of these is your favorite between the two? Which one do you like more?
Personally, I like the total because backing the Nats is scary. Both these pitchers, not great. I think you've nailed it. Gray's been more lucky than good, and Flaherty. Man, a few years ago, this guy looked like he was going to be a stud, and then got hurt.
Injuries. Yeah. His velocity way down. It's
hot day, ball should carry. There's some power in both these lineups. And they can put up some runs. I think the total's a much safer play. But back to the Nationals isn't a bad play at all. It's just not my favorite. Because I really don't trust Flaherty on the road. I don't trust the Cardinals offense to show up for all 9 innings, and who knows what happens. So with the plus odds, I like where it's at. I'll end up playing both, but my favorite is the total.
Gotcha. And I know a lot of people, and it's tough, as a better you look at it, you don't want to be rooting against yourself. So I know a lot of people will look at it and they'll say they only want to make one play on a game. And so that's why when someone's on here, I ask what their favorite is. I tend to agree. I love this over, especially for getting at 9. I'd still play over 9.5 if that's what you're looking at. Hopefully you're getting better odds in the minus 120. But personally, as much as it's sometimes uncomfortable to play both because you have innings where you kind of have to root against one of your picks, I like playing both because Josiah Gray's been so lucky this year. And if he continues to be lucky, you're going to really enjoy having that plus 136 in your back pocket. But if we get the Josiah Gray that we like, both you and I think, he's been kind of lucky and he's due for some bad luck to come at some point and give up some runs, and he gives up a bunch of runs, you're going to love having the over. So you're kind of one of those. Again, this isn't a get rich quick scheme. I'm not trying to have you hit your 10-team parlay. If you play a 10-team parlay, have fun, but that's not what I think makes a successful sports bettor. And so it's one of those where it's like playing both. I feel like we're probably going to win one, and we might win both, and it's going to be hard to lose both. But giving yourself a higher likelihood to win both than the likelihood of losing both is just a good, smart, long-term play. So I like playing both. But Jake, you like the over more, and I couldn't agree more with you. The over is just a really strong pick. The hot day, wind blowing out to start. These two starting pitchers, both we have talked about the bullpens. Both sets of bullpens are also not very good. And so it's not like it's going to cool down as the day goes on. With that hot weather in those bullpens, ball's going to fly from innings 1 through 9. And if you get extras, even more so. So over a real strong pick there. And also Nationals plus 136 A grade play for your afternoon baseball. Excited to have some Monday afternoon baseball.
Yeah, it's nice.
Which will take us to 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Royals at the Tigers. Pretty warm day in Detroit for that part, far north, at least to start off with. About 80 degrees to start, low 70s to close. Relatively strong wind, but blowing across, so the wind's not going to affect it. The warm weather is going to bump the runs by about 3%, kind of offset the fact that this is still a slight pitcher-friendly ballpark. Not nearly as much as it used to be, of course, with moving the fence in, but it's still pretty deep to the power alleys there. You got Jordan Lyles, who's potentially the worst starting pitcher in baseball at this point. 6.89 ERA. Advanced metrics say maybe it shouldn't be that high, but it's still very, very, very bad. Versus Reese Olson, who's thrown 13 innings, 6.08 ERA, but the advanced metrics say it should be in the low fours. Model actually projects Reese Olson as an average pitcher, much better than Jordan Lyles. Neither team offensively is much to write home about. Neither team's relievers are that bad. Obviously, the Royals have a couple of trade chips that once they get rid of those guys, I think the Royals bullpen is going to get much worse. But for now, it's decent enough. The big difference in this game is, of course, the game location and Reese Olson. And that's why I'm on the Tigers here. Now, it's only a C grade pick. The value isn't really there. And we want to be price sensitive. We don't want to play this too high. Model says it should be Tigers minus 134. But I'm still playing it personally at minus 138. Why? Because the Royals are garbage. We got an A-grade win with the Royals on Saturday. It was like the luckiest win I think we've ever had. That team is terrible. And on the road with Jordan Lyles, it's not a great price to put a lot of your chips on, but it's one that I just want to diversify my portfolio, and I just want to fade Jordan Lyles as much as possible. I kind of feel about him right now like we felt about Madison Bumgarner about a month and a half ago. Just one of those like, hey, I know the value's not there, but I just want to keep fading him until he's out of the league because he's just been so dang bad that even this bad Tigers offense should score some runs off of him. Projected total in this game is 8.5. Model, a little bit on the underside as the current bet online number is 9. It's hard for me to go under with Jordan Lyles involved, but neither offense is good. I don't know. I'm just passing on the total and just saying I feel like Jordan Lyles is maybe never going to win another baseball game, and so I'm going to back the Tigers. Jake, my question for you, I'm okay personally playing this at minus 138, even though it's a C grade. I'd rather it be in the low minus 130s. Where's your threshold for where you're playing it or where you're excited to play it? Where's your head on the Tigers on this one? What numbers?
Ooh, I think I'm looking for like sub minus 130 on the Tigers just because their offense isn't good. Don't trust them. But I mean, you're right. Lyles may never win a baseball game for the rest of his life, the way it's going right now. And I don't know. Well, like you can't really say watch this game. It's going to be bad baseball. It's just a tryout for the rest of the league to see who they're going to pick off these teams because I don't see the Tigers holding on to their pieces either. So it's just I'm just happy this isn't the day game because I have no interest in watching this one whatsoever.
That's a good point. If this was the day game, I feel like we'd all watch it, but we'd all be very sad doing it because this is not going to be entertaining baseball. And viewer, the reason we're talking about this game is because we're recording this on Sunday night. There's only like 5 games right now with lines, so we're kind of limited as to what we can talk about. So I'm playing the Tigers at minus 138. Anything less than minus 140 for me. Jake, you're kind of thinking about a dime better as your threshold. I completely agree with you. The Tigers offense is a little bit scary. My angle is just fading Jordan Lyles. But again, this is one of those things too, and I also want to point out reasonable models and reasonable minds can have slightly different numbers. And that's the thing, viewer, I encourage you to think about what number would you play it at and look for that number. And if you get it, play it. If not, pass. And we can disagree by 10 cents. No model is perfectly accurate to know within a nickel or 10 cents like that, right? We're just kind of saying this is my threshold, and reasonable people can say it's 10 cents off, 15 cents off. Now you can't say, or you shouldn't say, my threshold for the Tigers is they need to be plus 180 or something. That's a little bit unreasonable, right? But within reason here, if you're waiting for 130 or you're comfortable with 140, it's just slightly difference of opinion here. Also fewer games, so maybe your threshold's a little bit different based off of that, right? It's not like you got a full 15 games to watch. But I'm personally going to fade Lyles here. It's just not great value. I'm really hoping this number goes down. If so, then we're starting to add a little bit more to it, get a little bit more invested in it. But as of now, I cannot back this Royals team with Jordan Lyles pitching. It's hard to back them in general. When you do, you want to pick your perfect spots, and this is not that spot, as bad as Detroit actually is. 7:05 p.m. Eastern, Cubs at the Pirates. Mid-80s to start, mid-70s to close, but the wind will be blowing in 5 to 10 miles an hour. So slightly warmer day, but the wind blowing in is going to make it a pretty neutral day with regards to the weather. Drew Smiley for the Cubs, the guy I've been talking about fading for quite a while now, 3.59 ERA, but the underlying metrics say it should be over a run higher. He's not good in my opinion. Of course, the guy he's facing, Osvaldo Bido, thrown 4 decent innings so far in the majors, but not really overly encouraging numbers from the minors. Doesn't project to be much better. It's kind of a similar story to the Royals Tigers. Neither one of these teams is great. Obviously, the Pirates are surprisingly decent. And if you're a Pirates fan, you're probably excited about them. If you're trying to make any hay in the Central, obviously the Reds are the talk of the Central at this point. But if you're the Pirates and you still have hopes of winning the division and beating up on some bad teams, which is not implausible, this is a series you got to take here against the Cubs at home. And so with that said, I'm on the Pirates here at plus 106. Model says this is a pretty close to a coin toss game. So I'll play the Pirates here. Slight value B grade. If it gets to plus 115, it is an A grade. Total on this one is 9.2. Model says 9.2. Total's 9. So total's pretty well priced. I just think the Pirates at home, a little more excited, a little more to play for. I don't think that Osvaldo Bido is very good, but I do think a younger guy has more upside than Drew Smyly, who at this point I just think is very mediocre. Jake, what's your thought on this game?
Yeah, really, really don't like Drew Smyly. So I love the Pirates here at home. I think they're the better team. I mean, I think the Cubs showed flashes of it, and that's fallen away now. But especially, I love to fade Smyly. When he was on the Braves, I was even fading him because, man, he could not get it together. And I just think he is past his point of having value in the league right now. And so I'm going to fade him at all possible opportunities.
And viewer, if you're not aware, Jake is a Braves fan, so and a little bit of a homer. Like I got to call a spade, and so he likes his team, and so if he's fading his team, that tells you what he really thinks of him.
I think we got the best record in the National League, so it's a good one right now.
You probably do. Very good team to be behind, absolutely this year. And I do have to, of course, point out, we're dogging on Drew Smyly. He's a much better pitcher than I would ever be. He's a much better athlete than either one of us, of course. We have to kind of throw that caveat in there. We are not trying to hate on any professional athletes. It's simply the fact that, relative to he's up against guys who are just also incredible at their job. I just think he's been a little bit lucky. I think if you look at that ERA, and I think he's being priced as if, he's still a good pitcher. And I just think he's on the wrong side of average, and that ERA is a bit of a mirage. As I'm always saying, ERA tells you what did happen, but it's maybe sometimes not the best predictor of what will happen in the future. And I think that's the case for him. So I'm kind of like you, just fading him really. Plus odds on the Pirates at home makes a lot of sense. Which will take us to our last game that we're going to cover here on the show, 8 p.m. Eastern. Diamondbacks on the Brewers, projecting the roof closed in this one. A pretty good pitching matchup. Merrill Kelly versus Corbin Burnes. Burnes maybe starting to put it together, having a few better starts after a really slow start to the season. Merrill Kelly been solid all season long. Again, a pitcher who may be a little bit better at home, like kind of most pitchers are, but still doing decent enough on the road, giving this Diamondbacks team, who's up there with your Braves for best record in the National League, just shockingly. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Giving them a chance to win every time he's out there. A couple good starters in this Diamondbacks team. If they could get some depth at the back of that rotation, they're a pretty scary team. They got a good bullpen, better than the Brewers, in my opinion, and according to the model, and a better offense than the Brewers. Going to take the Diamondbacks are at plus 112, A grade pick. Model says that it should be Diamondbacks minus 111. The Diamondbacks should be favored in this game. Model thinks they win 53% of the time. Plus odds is an easy A grade play for me. Anything plus odds or better is an A grade on the Diamondbacks. The total on this one, model projects 8. Actual total is 8. I have no feel for this total because the pitching is pretty good in it, but this Diamondbacks offense is actually kind of good too. Jake, what do you have for us on this one?
Look, I love Merrill Kelly. I think he is a very underrated pitcher for how good he is. And I mean, Corbin Burnes is putting it together, but you nailed it. It's the bullpen, the difference there, and the better offense, which has been surprising. I think that's the biggest surprise in this team because everybody knew Gallen and Kelly were going to be good, and they were going to win some of those back into the rotation games.
And everyone, knew the back end rotation was going to be. You're going to win some because you can't lose them all, but you're not going to win a lot of them because those guys. Everyone knew those guys weren't very good either.
Yeah, but now you've got Walker's hitting the ball, Carroll's hitting it, Pavin Smith's doing okay. The Rojas is great. Like they're having a real offense. They can win hitting the long ball. They can play. They can go rallies. I think this Diamondbacks team is here to stay for a little bit. If they can find, you're right. If they can find that at the deadline, find that third starter, I think they could be very deadly out there and keep this first place away from the Dodgers.
Which is crazy. It feels like I know this isn't true. I know there was that one year the Dodgers and Giants were battling and the Padres battle them. I don't think the Padres ever won it, but it feels like the Dodgers have run away with the division every year for the last 10 years. And again, I know that's not true, but it feels that way, right? And so the fact that the Diamondbacks the Dodgers are still a better team. Don't get me wrong, but when you bank as many games as the Diamondbacks have banked on them, and they've still got, like I said, they definitely need another pitcher. But this offense is decent. It's not that far behind the Dodgers, and the bullpen might be better than the Dodgers bullpen, which has really struggled this year. And with all the injuries the Dodgers have to their staff, it's not like they've got, if the Dodgers arms are healthy 1 through 5, almost no rotation of baseball can keep up with them. But with all the injuries they have, if the Diamondbacks add another arm, Kelly and Gallen have been so good at the top. And I think you're right. We've talked a lot about Merrill Kelly on the show, an underrated pitcher, a guy that I'm looking to back in prop markets, whether it's, outs over, strikeouts over, whatever it may be. He just continues to not be respected. It's like he's not sexy, I guess, but he pitches a lot of innings, gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona's kind of the forgotten team out there. You've got Giants and Dodgers and Padres that have flashy names, and the Giants have been up there, and they don't. It's like the Arizona's just kind of forgotten, almost like Seattle is in that division too.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got the Rockies who can't be forgotten because of where they play. Everyone always takes note of the weird scores and course. So you have they're like the fifth, and the Giants have played really well, right? We back the Giants a lot as of late. The Padres have all the names. The Dodgers have been so good for so long, but this Diamondbacks team is real sneaky good. They're not going to win every game. We backed them on Sunday, and they really just fell apart. But again, it goes back to what we're talking about. We're not going to win every game. And I said this before, but right, we're not actually trying to win every game as much as we are. My hot take is that we aren't, because if we accidentally win every game, that tells me the model's off at some point, because when we say 60% probability, we really want it to be 60%. We really do want the team to win 6 times out of 10, because that tells us what side to be on in the long run. And that's how we made money, is that when the model says 60%, it actually is pretty dang accurate. And that's the point on this one, why it's such great value. Don't know if the Diamondbacks are going to win this one. It should be a good contest, but the point being, model says 53%. And so plus odds makes a great play on the Snakes here in a road game. And another retractable roof. Jake, that's all we've got here for Monday. Do you have any parting words for the viewer?
No, I'm just happy the scheduling guy finally listened to the show and started putting day games on Mondays, so we can stop yelling at him about that.
We could take credit for that one, I guess. Unfortunately, I feel like next Monday we'll be back to complaining. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy all the sports betting content right on this channel. Jumped right into your feed. I'll be back again tomorrow with more baseball betting content. Until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can get your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.